Welcome one and all, today we'll be exploring Gemini Home Entertainment. I heard about this YouTube series, but I never checked it out myself, so I'm pretty excited. First, I'll be going over each video before explaining how they all connect and sharing my thoughts on everything towards the end. Now without further ado, let's jump right into the first video. World's Weirdest Animals. I love animals. Happy music plays and we begin in rural Minnesota, where we'll get introduced to 3 animals. We start off normal with the greater prairie chicken and burrowing owl. We get a description of the animals along with footage and information. As for the third animal, that's where things get interesting. We get introduced to wood crawlers. Turns out this animal is an excellent hunter and a silent one too. We get shown footage of footprints and later someone's home. We learn that wood crawlers actually love nesting in large families' homes, and that many tend to swarm the location. You will hear screaming. They stole their voices. That's unsettling. Do we have a case of body snatchers? We then get instructions to burn the bodies to avoid having them rise again. We even see footage of what I believe is one of the wood crawlers entering the room someone is hiding in. Yikes! This gets followed up by more footage of someone outside the home recording the family inside, but they don't seem to be acting normal, moving strangely or not at all. Fake people. It seems like the wood crawlers have the ability to take over someone's body. During the recording, the person with the camera was spotted and chased after by one of the fake people. The footage cuts and that was the end of the first video. Don't you just love animals? Moving on. Next video, storm safety tips. Brought to us by Harbinge Technology. This cassette will act as our guide to protect us and our loved ones when the weather gets too violent. First step is to be prepared ahead of time. In order to be prepared, reinforcing your home is a must and having weather alarm systems is vital. Harbinger Technology has alarms, so just buy from them. Additionally, having a bunker will raise the chances of survival, and Harbinger Technology recommended another one of their products. As for the radio, it's recommended to only turn it on when there are emergencies. Alright, our next instructions is how to act during the storm. Take yourself and your loved ones to the bunker because your home is now the property of the storm. Turn on the shortwave radio, but ignore the sounds because they're hallucinations. Additionally, remain calm. Don't cry. And our next instructions is what to do after. When you believe you're safe, check the damages and for any movement. When you hear chimes, you're safe. After this, the video text gets stranger, like telling us to look towards the field, and if we see light, it's best to return back to our bunkers. And we're meant to listen closely to the ground because something is crawling. Oh my, could this be the wood crawlers? Anyways, it's the end of the safety tips video and we're moving on to the next. Artificial computer learning. This video opens with Regnat Computers, and we learn that the past 4 years they've been developing and advancing artificial intelligence, and we'll be seeing a demonstration of it with their computers. We'll be shown 3 iterations of an original children's story which will be crafted by an artificial intelligence. The first 2 gave decent results, but the third one gave the best. The story reads this. Jack leaped over the river. There goes Mary down the stream. The secret place will keep us safe. The river flows, but not with water. Does this imply that Mary's corpse is floating down the river? That's alarming. But the computer didn't stop there. We get shown more. Jack heard it again. There is a voice from space. Jack, do you see me? I have become something else. Listen to the silver box. The stars are coming now. Do you see the hungry eye? Here I am. Then we get shown interesting visuals. It seems as though the artificial intelligence is trying to tell us something, but is it actually artificial intelligence? But enough about that. We finish this video and move on to the next, our solar system. As expected, it's about our solar system. Starting with the sun, we learn facts about it before moving on to the planets. I'll mention the ones that interested me. Jupiter's text states that it's not an eye despite the spot, Saturn's rings are a gateway, and Neptune's storms is a lens, and that the planet has mutated. After this, things get even more strange throughout the video. Neptune spins and the video cuts as we get shown this text. The iris, it is with us now, laughing at us. We see the iris and it's quite the intimidating sight. Whatever this means, it's clearly bad news and the reason why Neptune's mutated. Later we get shown a light coming from Neptune and stretching towards the other planets before it cuts to Jupiter. My favorite. After the artificial intelligence message talking about the moving stars and a hungry eye, I'm very concerned with the things in space. As for the strange light beam approaching the planets, maybe there's another reason apart from just storms to why people need to make a bunker. But that's enough about the solar system. We'll be moving on to the next video, which is a camp information video. Moonlight Acres is a family camp. There are many activities you can partake in, one of the most noticeable events being the Lights in the Sky event. The bunker video states that the lights spotted out in the fields are bad news, yet for the camp, the lights are seen as an event. I wonder what happens when you participate in this event. The camp also offers many cabins to rest in, which are apparently well secured, and yet we get shown a video in which we hear knocking. There's even text instructing us not to answer, so it's clearly not that safe. It doesn't help that we get told about the mythos of the camp, one including a creature who is known for the ability to disguise themselves. Skinwalkers, woodcrawlers. One and the same maybe? We then get shown images of people who were connected to the camp, and the word vessel. Each of these people open the door. Who did they open the door for? To this thing. Oh my gosh! This is why I don't go camping anymore! Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, but when the video was discussing mythos, it mentioned well-dressed men and a deal that was made with them. After that day, the men never returned. I believe they were woodcrawlers or skinwalkers, and whatever the deal was, it involved them leaving the camp runners alone. With this, I know why they promoted the Lights in the Sky event. Maybe that's the camp's end of the deal. Sacrifice others and those who run the camp are safe and don't have to worry about those things. At least I think. Now the next video is more like a commercial break, promoting a game in which artificial intelligence assisted with creating it. And guess what? You can actually play the game! I did. Who are you? I can't escape this thing. What is that? Now this is a ceremony. Anyways, enough about the game. With the next video, we get Wilderness Survival Guide. It's basic things to expect in a wilderness survival guide, but things to take note of is that most of the animals aren't normal, and to be wary of dangerous plants, such as nature's mockery, which can have side effects such as hallucinations or worse, decaying flesh. Speaking of hallucinations, you can experience auditory hallucinations which can trick you into believing someone is crying out for help. Or is it really hallucinations? We then get shown footage of a person crying out for help, but something about them feels off. From the way they move to how they repeat the same phrases. They want to lure you in. This reminds me of the people in the first video who were taken by the woodcrawlers. When you find yourself in this situation, don't follow. But even if you run away, they'll know you were near. Next video! Sleeping Image Visualizer. We get introduced to Harbinge technology again, and we get shown how to set up their sleeping device. There's a fun little headset you'll need to sleep in and a software you need to install into your computer in order to capture images of your dreams. As you can see here, Jack has peculiar dreams. We then get told that the sleeping image visualizer only visualizes what's in our minds. They aren't connected to anything in reality. After all, our dreams can't tell the future. For the final moments of the video, we see footage of the sun suddenly vanishing. And with that, the video ends. With the information we've been learning about the solar system, I wouldn't be surprised if something could take away the sun, or at least block us from it. Now, I'm going to pause here for a moment because I'm sure by now that all these random information getting thrown at us is too much. We're learning about creatures, things in space, a camp, a game, survival guides, and technology. You might be wondering, how does all of this connect? And trust me, we need to know all of this because this isn't exactly our world. The world of Gemini Home Entertainment is different from ours, so to understand it better, having all of this information is essential. Everything we get shown is important. From the names of people we learned about, to the technology companies, to the creatures, we need to know all of this. Eventually, many of these things will connect, and again, like I said in the beginning, I'll be sharing my thoughts on how all of this connects in the end. But for now, let's keep going. Games for kids! In this video, we get told about kids games, such as hide and seek, freeze tag, and sardines. By the way, sardines is basically reverse hide and seek if you don't know that. As for the fourth game, we get introduced to Feed the Woods. How to play this game? Wait until it's dark and your parents are asleep. Sneak into the woods and gather your friends. When there's no lights in sight, scream at the top of your lungs. We then get shown images with arrows pointing and a face filled with tears. The game ends when the woods is fed. We then see a cop car getting taken by a creature before the screen changes to an arrow pointing at the earth, and the text telling us that we were found. Just like a seeker searching for hiders, something is after us. And I doubt they have any good intentions. I'm blaming the things in space, specifically the iris that was briefly mentioned. Now we'll be moving on to the next video, which introduces us to Northern Alberta Mining and Developments. A vehicle was made with the purpose to be remote controlled by a computer. It can easily tunnel through anything and has a camera allowing the person in control of the vehicle to monitor the surroundings. However, something in the cave seemed to have tampered with the vehicle, leaving it offline for a while until it rebooted. When it turns on, the location is strange, and when we zoom in on the surroundings, things only become more unusual. We then get shown this. Blood pumps through the garden's veins. The crops mature. Back to the vehicle's perspective, we then get shown a bright light, and then even more lights which are attached to a creature. I believe the vehicle found itself in a nest, specifically a nest of woodcrawlers. The scene then cuts to this. Shifting tendons shape anatomy, mutation of the heart. With this, we see the vehicle's final moments before it lost signal. Now, if these creatures are woodcrawlers, then we could connect this to the bunker and the weirdest animals video. When it told us to be cautious with lights in the field, it must be referring to these things. But anyways, moving on. Deep root disease. Ah, what fun. A disease in which it will spread and grow once it reaches your bones. How can you identify if you have this disease? Look for bulbs on your body. Depending on how long it's been there, spores could appear and the area could feel quite painful. Additionally, erratic muscle spasms and an unrecognizable smell at home could help you identify it too. And if you suspect someone you know could have this disease, ask them these questions. If it's confirmed that they have this disease, proceed with the protective safety measures. Honestly, I believe it's too late to save a person who's infected. If they don't even feel their bones, these roots are taking over completely. How can you save someone from that? Yikes. Next video, and it's a monthly progress report with RegNet computers. Something to take note of is these scenes right here. It's like the computer's infected with red vines. Now, Now, as expected, we'll be getting messages from an artificial intelligence, but by now I believe it's safe to say that this isn't just artificial intelligence. It's something greater, scarier even. The speaker turns on and we hear this. Mary sees the gateway die. Sleeping ones are eaten whole. The vessel floats into the Myuu. The jaw unhinges. New things roam the feeding grounds. The harbinger guards in vain. Mary hears a creaking sound. The hungry eyes welcomed. Jack is with us now. Jack is us now. That's the end of the video. Now it's believed that Regnat computers are working alongside whatever is responsible for all the strange things happening to Earth. By using their computers, that's how they're able to communicate with it. I just had to throw that in there before we moved on to the next video. Speaking of which, it's a Christmas Eve party video. It's a festive party in Moonlight Acres family camp during 1985, and the footage we get shown is of the snowy camp, either outside or inside a cabin. However, instead of feeling joy, everything feels tense. We hear a growl outside and eventually spot what I believe is the legs of a creature. Later, we see that creature stalking the cabin. Those inside the cabin soon heard knocking and strange noises before eventually whatever was outside took over the cabin and broke in. In the end, we get shown photographs of people who I believe were in the cabin and a photo of a creature with the text Mary below it. Moving on from that, the next video is Home Invasion Help. At first I assumed it meant it was a guide to help defend yourself against invaders. However, reading the title a second time, it's actually a guide to help you invade a house. Who needs this? I think that creature from the Christmas video used this. Anyways, throughout this guide, we get told about the things we must keep in mind when it comes to home invading, such as locked doors, windows, and security systems. We then get told methods of how invaders can break into a home and the pros and cons of those methods. And when you're inside, we're instructed to find prey, incapacitate them, and enter them through an open orifice. After this, we get shown footage of what I believe is the aftermath of a break-in, and the remains or taken over body of its residents. As for the person recording, they weren't alone and was attacked. Body snatching time? Or infecting? Maybe a little both? Anyways, the next video. Crusader probe mission. We get introduced to Crusader, which completed a planetary flyby mission and gained new data and photographs for us. It photographed the following: Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune. It started with Jupiter, moved on to Saturn, documenting their moons along the way, and finally in September of 1991, it photographed Neptune. The November photo was dark, however in February 1992, when we reach the cluster, we see the photographs of the moons. However, they all look different. Wrong, but equally frightening. Crusader was then suddenly caught in a gravitational pull, and we see the photos of it happening. We get told it entered an esophagus grove, and it kept moving, snapping photos as it went further in. On 1998, we get shown these photos. It lost signal for 7 months only to suddenly start approaching Earth on 1994. What fun! To speedrun the last 3 videos, remember the photos we saw that said Mary? Turns out she isn't the creature, but one of many who are absorbed by the creature. What an abomination! And that the thing once resembled a bear before all its mutations. The other 2 videos mention the deep root disease, which shows us someone who's infected and completely changed by the disease. It's clear that the disease doesn't just take over the body, but the mind too, changing everything about you. Whew! Now that all the videos are covered, let's move on to my thoughts on everything that we just watched. Basically connecting the dots. Now with all the information thrown at us, it can be pretty confusing because at first you would assume that many of the videos are their own standalone things, but they do connect. Let's begin with the planets. If you haven't figured it out, I'm positive that many of the planets are actually creatures, meaning they're alive, cosmic horror and such. Neptune was the first to mutate because of the iris, and the same could potentially happen to Earth. Also, it hinted that Saturn at some point died because the computer said, Mary sees the gateway die, and in the solar system video, it said Saturn's rings were a gateway. So Saturn is potentially a floating corpse in our solar system. Speaking of which, another interesting message that came from the computer states this: sleeping ones are eaten whole. The vessel floats into the Myuu. The jaw unhinges. I believe this implies the planets can be consumed. Cool. Anyways, now that Neptune is mutated, it sent blasts out into space, which affected the nearby planets, and with the blast, it sent woodcrawlers, nature's mockery, and the root disease. With this, I believe the purpose of the bunker video is to potentially save people from those cosmic blasts, and the other guides we are provided with have the purpose to warn us about the dangerous things that came to Earth. At least some of the guides are meant to help us. Sadly, even with this help, the woodcrawlers and the deep root disease seems to be taking over humanity, taking over Earth, taking vessels and turning humans into root-like creatures, burrowing underground and turning Earth into its nest. But I believe the iris's goal in all of this is to mutate our solar system and or to consume parts of it or all of it. Some people on Earth are potentially assisting the iris by communicating with it, like Regnat technology. It's literally danger backwards. And others are trying to save our planet, or at least the people who live in it, such as Jack, who's been documenting everything. But as you could see from the home invasion video, Jack didn't make it. The iris is coming from us and has no mercy for our kind. What a horrible universe to live in. Good thing the planets in our solar system aren't living creatures. Right? Anyways, that's Gemini Home Entertainment and my thoughts on everything. I always enjoy a good cosmic horror, and I always love it when an analog horror video starts off innocent and happy before slowly twisting and turning into a dark and scary video. If you haven't watched the videos yourself, I highly recommend that you do. The experience of actually watching all the videos gives you a different feeling compared to just hearing me explain it. I'm Reap, this is the end of the video, links in the description for all the stuff. I better not catch you dying relying on me, and have a good day. Goodbye. Like and subscribe.